Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in today to another edition of MJR and Friends. You have our host, Michael Rossi, that's me, and super pumped for today. Everyone knows I'm a big fan of peanut butter, almond butter, and I get to talk to a genius of peanut butter, almond butter, and all different kinds of nut butter. Today we are here with Hank Capasso. I said it right? No, yeah.
You got it. Yep,
Uh,
that's right.
Hank Capasso, owner of Hank's Proteins Plus, all protein infused nut butters. Hank, how are you today?
Thank you.
Good, good, good. I'm so excited to have you on. And before we get into it, before we talk about your journey, you can follow our podcast page at the links below: Facebook, MJR Podcast Family, and MJR Entertainment, Instagram, and YouTube. And right now, we're gonna make that switch and pop it over to Hank's Info. That's the wrong one. We're gonna do this one. Pop it over to Hank's Info, the website hanksproteinplus.com, and you can follow him on Instagram at HanksPBS. So, Hank, let's get right into it. How did this start?
Yep. This started back about, I'd say around 12, 13 years ago. I owned a gym, and within the gym, I owned my own personal training facility. And I used to do a lot of nutritional programs for athletes. So the way it started with this portion of it was I was getting a lot of type 1 and type 2 diabetic people coming to me for the nutritional program. My background is in nutrition. I went back to school very late in life and, got my degree in nutrition. So I was getting more and more people with metabolic disorders. So I know that the hardest thing for them to do was to fill that snack time in, the in-between meals. Because what happens when they didn't, they would overeat when it came to mealtime, which is a bad thing for a diabetic because it would spike their insulin levels and blood sugar levels and all that. So I just started playing around with the idea, and my wife was very instrumental in the planning of this. And it started just like toying around, and ultimately what I started to do is make 2 or 3 different flavors when I was bringing them into my office, like in a deli container, and I made a label on my computer, and I was selling them out of my office, and lo and behold, I was selling 70, 80 a month, not even knowing, because I just used to refill the shelves basically. So then I was able to get people in off the street. And then I knew it had to go like the legal route before, somebody came in and shut me down. So, but I was actually making it in the basement of my home.
Wow. And you talk about, you know, for people with diabetes and the blood sugar, what makes like peanut butter, what makes these nut butters so good for your health in terms of diabetics, blood sugar? What makes it that?
The yep, the premise hasn't changed. The whole idea hasn't changed. It was, to bring in a slower digesting food, which is our peanuts and peanut butter. But the thing with protein is a very good appetite suppressant. So if you can combine the two, I thought I had like kind of like the holy grail of supplements. If I could, somehow manipulate the protein into the peanut butter. So, but at that time, because it wasn't an all natural product, I was using like an artificial sweetener, and which is okay for diabetics, but not in the big in the long game. It's not the greatest of ideas. So, but at that time, it was very good and it served its purpose. And only recently, like the past about 4 months ago, I started playing around with changing the formula to become an all natural, 100% all natural product. And lo and behold, it worked. And I think it actually tastes better than it has in the past.
What, how do you stop? Like when I've ate your peanut butter, the protein peanut butter, it's like it's so hard for me to stop. So like when you talk to people, like I'm like you start eating peanut butter, and 90% of the time you're like, oh, I'll have 1 tablespoon of it, and it turns into 10 right away. So like, how do you
Right.
tell someone, portion control? How do you get that, especially when it's so good?
Yeah. Well, I what I'd like to do someday is to maybe own a halfway house for people who are addicted to my peanut butter, so I could sell them the peanut butter and then also take care of them at the halfway house. So, but that you can say all you want, but it's going to be left up to the person to try to put those things into play. But I also look at it this way: if eating more of a product, either my product or a product like mine or anything healthy, if you're overeating something like that, then that means you're not eating something that's probably worse for you or that's bad for you. And now that, like I said, now that we're at 100% natural, no artificial ingredients, no fillers, no anything, I don't really see the downside of eating too much of it. So that's not a selling point. It's just a fact. So, and it does taste, I mean, it tastes great. And now I think it tastes better because I control the flavoring of it because I flavor it all myself. I don't get anything that's already pre-flavored, which I did before, partly. But now I get the raw ingredients and I make everything from scratch, basically.
That's awesome. One of the things you put in our little planner is you visited as many stores as you could. I wanted to ask you about it. Can you explain that? Was it visiting to sell the product or visiting to like see what other people were doing? What did you mean when you put that there?
Well, because the product itself is a very like niche type product, and because our state is so small, I kind of already knew what was going on with. There really wasn't anything like mine around at that time. I mean, basically, I was. I don't want to say I was the first. So I like to say we because I've always had, you know, my wife's always been in the picture, and you know, I have employees now, so I don't like to say I. So, but we already knew that there was nothing out there like this. So we were the first company to come out with a product like this, and then since then, there's been multiple products like ours. But I really do feel ours was a little bit, always has been a little bit different. The texture and the consistency has always been a little bit more wholesome, if you will, a little bit more earthy texture. And a lot of the other ones are very loose, granular, or some of them are extremely hard. I mean, I tried a couple of them when I went down to one of our distributors in North Carolina. They also were carrying a couple of other ones that they were filtering out to keep mine in. And they gave me two of them. And honestly, Mike, I am not lying when I tell you that I put a plastic spoon into it and it broke on both of them, and they weren't expired. They were relatively new. I think they were like 3 months in on the expiration date. But I said, man, I'll tell you, I can't believe people are actually spending money, on this stuff. But they have a company that makes multiple products. So they're out there, and, if you sell one to 2 million people, you're going to be doing okay, even if they never bought it again, so.
I've had a
We're
few.
hoping to reach that status.
Yeah, I've had a few kinds like that too. It's like you can't even a regular spoon, like you pick it up and it bends, and it's like, why?
It bends.
Why is it like it
Right.
bends? It bends the regular spoon too. Let me ask you this: you talked about North
Well, see,
Carolina.
that's what happens with. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, what I was going to say is there's certain what happens. Mass production equipment is basically these bigger companies that are doing this. Basically, all the equipment is the same. It's mass production equipment. Ours is more crafted, so the equipment's a little bit different. I actually adjusted and built my own grinding system for it to keep that texture, because if I don't spend, $40,000-$50,000 on a grinder, it's not going to be the same. It's going to be the same. Like the only thing that's going to be distinguishable is the taste, but the consistency and all that other stuff is going to be the same as everybody else's. So there's a couple of tricks that I learned by working with somebody, a flavor specialist, basically out of California, a couple of months ago, and he taught me some cool things about making a product that isn't going to get like cement, and making a product that you take full advantage of the flavoring system and the flavors that they make to make your product or our product taste as good as it can taste.
When you brought up North Carolina, like having a warehouse down there in North Carolina. My question is, how long
Yep.
before and what was the process of being able to distribute outside of Rhode Island? How long did that take?
It was a few years. You know, the funny part is the the a bunch of guys who are reps from that company in North Carolina. The home base is in North Carolina. They also have a warehouse in Connecticut, and one in North Carolina, and one in Las Vegas. The sales reps, when they were coming up this way, they would stop in to a friend of mine's supplement store and buy my stuff and eat it themselves. So, but they didn't like the packaging, you know. So I always had to kind of keep it on the cheap end with packaging, because basically being at that point a one man show, you know, I didn't take out any, you know, loans or lines of credit or anything like that. So, you know, I was doing it as cost effective as I could. And but they were eating my product, and I had no idea until they told the guy who owned the store that they wanted to get together with me and have him. And at some point, if I could get the packaging to where it was more acceptable, they would love to take me in. So, in a long story, that's basically how it happened. You know.
Let me ask you this. Let's go back to the beginning. When you first started, what's one thing? Because obviously, there's going to be people listening to this that are looking at you and saying, "Wow, I can't believe he did this. He went through this. What was his process and all this stuff?" If you had to tell people, what's one thing you wish you knew before you started? So, what's one thing you wish you knew before you started when you began?
The more the business aspect of things, that is, you know, the creativity of the product and the manufacturing of the product, you know, kind of knowing, because I've been in this field for a long time, like the supplement and, you know, gym and all that stuff field time. You kind of know what people want and what people are looking for. So that part of it was relatively or easier. It's the you know, the business aspect and tracking things, and, you know, making sure that every penny is accounted for and all of that good stuff. That's the stuff that I kind of had to always learn. I had to learn that on the fly. And, you know, a couple of times I got on my rear end because of, you know, I wouldn't say not paying attention, but just not making good decisions. You know, sometimes when you accumulate, you know, monies through sales and stuff like that, especially when I was making it out of my house, there was no overhead, right? So then you'd go out and spend it on stuff for the business. I'm not one that's going to go out and buy, like, you know, crazy stuff. I was all business oriented stuff, but, you know, just making sure you're twice as stable as you think you are. I think that's in a business sense, I think that's the one of the more important things, for sure.
Twice as stable. I like that. Twice as stable. Definitely, that definitely helps me starting a business as well. So
Mhm.
twice as stable. I like that. Um, let's talk
Yeah.
about you talked about customer service and what makes your brand so different when it comes to customer service. What's your focus on customer service? What makes it so good?
My focus is, and I think kind of like our mantra is, you know, the customer is like never wrong. You know, I don't care how, if things get messed up on a transaction, you know, I'll do everything I can to rectify it, and if I can't rectify it, I'll offer them some other way of you know, keeping the peace and keeping the customer. I look at it this way, you know, people are which sometimes I still have to pinch myself saying that, in that people are actually buying something that I make. Sometimes I still have a hard time comprehending that. So if you're going to spend that kind of money, and it's not an inexpensive product, so if you're going to spend, your hard money on a product of mine, I'm going to make sure that you're going to get your money's worth. And if at some point something happens and you're not, I'm going to make up for it in some other way, whether it's free product or, offering a couple of coupons. Or listen, during the whole Christmas thing with the pandemic, the United States Postal Service, I mean, they were totally overwhelmed. And we had a holiday gift boxes that we had online that people could buy. They could pick whatever they wanted to put in it. So, a lot of those that got shipped out didn't get to the customer for Christmas. So, we had a couple of upset customers, and we always said, like, once it's out of our hands, there's nothing we can do. We fill your order, we fill it like within a day, and we get it out within a day. So that there were a couple of people that lived in Massachusetts, and not close. It was about an hour and 15-minute drive that we went up and actually hand delivered it to them, because two things: she was a regular customer of ours, and they spend money on a regular basis for us. But even if they didn't, I don't want anybody walking away because of bad experience. They'll never walk away from the product, but they can walk away from wanting to deal with us. And I always make sure that if it's a call or a text, I support people in the fact I will do the speaking to you, not my manager or not, the people who work, a couple of people that work here, but I'll handle everything and give it as personal a touch as I can. That's why I always kind of say that we're more of a relationship-based company, because I really truly feel that we are,
Yeah, and I would say too, it feels like it's a long-term investment when you're with the customer. Like, you just doing that for that customer is going to make them a customer for life. You deliver it like that, and
Correct.
there's not
Correct.
too many places that do that. So I think just people look at, yeah, they messed up the order. It's on them. We're not helping them. Like, it's their fault. But
Right.
then they lose that customer, and that customer goes and tells 10 other people, and then those 10 people tell 10 people, and then by the end of the day, Hank is
Right.
awful.
Exactly. Right.
So it's
That's right. And
that,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it was USPS's, not that it was their fault, because like I said, they were overwhelmed that they weren't built. Their infrastructure wasn't built to handle as much as they did over a short period of time. But it's always going to come back to, I ordered something from Hank's Protein Plant. It's not going to say USPS messed it up. It's always going to come back to the company who made it, whose product it was. So, and I'm not going to go throwing USPS under the bus. All I told them was we had issues with a certain amount of deliveries, and we tried to make good on every one that we could. And we actually did. We did.
that is awesome. Tell us more about your rebranding that you did in November.
About what? I'm sorry, about pending?
Rebranding in November.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, our old excuse me, our old logo and our old label, it was kind of hard to see like what we actually did. The fact that we were in like the peanut butter sections, you kind of figured that that's what it was, but you really had to like look closely. And because it was a design that I had some help with, and a lot of it was my idea as well. I always said like, well, we know what it is. How come you don't? Like in my head, I'm saying stuff like that. So I knew it was time. It was time to basically make it a cleaner look, a more professional look, and that's the look that I went after with the labeling the way it is now. And in my mind, I had the idea of making it a cleaner product, like taking out the artificial sweetener, taking out some of the gums and fillers that were in the protein concentrates that I was buying. So with that whole clean and more spacious look to it, I that's basically what I did. I worked with someone over the internet, actually, that they were based in Pakistan, and we kind of went through a bunch of ideas. It took a while, but I'm pretty sure that I don't want to go through any more changes. I'm trying to make everything as solid a foundation as it is now, because sometimes when I get an idea, I act on it and I regret it later because it becomes 5 different other things that went along with it, instead of just the one thing that I wanted to do, you know. So right now I'm just going to keep everything as it is and just hope, start thinking about maybe another product to come out with. And we have a new flavor coming out in probably about a week. It's going to be in just the 6-ounce size at the beginning. And then after about a month, it'll be in the 16-ounce as well.
You do you use Fiverr? You know the website Fiverr, like the freelance where you can like get people
That's
to like.
that's who I worked. That's who I worked with. I worked with Fiverr. Yeah,
Me too.
yeah, they were fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
No,
have you? That's great.
I did
Yeah.
it with my website because I have no clue. I spent 3 hours trying to design my website. I got nowhere. I didn't know anything. I'm like, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
drop the money right on Fiverr, go on there, and it was done in a day. Hey,
Yeah. The
that
guy that
website.
I worked with a guy from the Fiverr for my website, and also for some ads that I made, like e-blast ads, with
Mhm.
someone else, and then some did the whole back end Google search ads for me that I'm still working with now. He's in the maintenance phase of everything, but yeah, I mean, for the amount of money that it probably would have cost to do a website here, I think it was probably about a tenth that I spent, and I think our website is pretty good. It's pretty nice.
Mhm. And so much less stress too. Yeah.
So much less stress. Correct.
Oh, brutal process. My next thing is, what would you say so far has been your biggest failure? And sometimes it's hard for people to talk about, but what would you say has been in business and running a business your biggest failure so far? What did you learn from it?
Well, yeah, my biggest failure was just a couple of years ago. I took in a few partners who all knew each other, and I knew one of them really well. And in fact, I trained his wife for years, and I'm still we're still friends. But as far as the like his wife and I still kind of like know each other. But he came in with his brother and his uncle, and uh, my head wasn't where it should have been. Um, so make a long story short, it didn't work out. We got closed down for about 16 weeks because of I had the wrong license type to be in a factory, and it caused a rift with us, with myself and 3 partners. So they basically ended up leaving, and after I got the business reopened, they with no help at all. I mean, I had to do it all myself, because if I was in their shoes, I would have done the same thing. They just basically wanted to, wipe their hands clean of me and, let it go. So once I got it reopened, I had to do some restructuring. Not call it a peanut butter, but call it like a peanut spread, because it has to be a certain amount of percentage of nuts, but because of the protein and the monk fruit and all that other stuff, so you really can't call it a peanut butter or an almond butter. We can call it peanut butter spread, almond butter. So that was the kind of like the straw that broke the back. So at our last meeting, which I didn't know was going to be our last meeting, they basically said, "That's it, we're done." So, fortunately, I had no money, but I had enough stock that was left, enough inventory that was left over, basically to start all over again. So I did, and the good part about it was they wanted to bail out, but they didn't want anything in return. Not that there was anything left, but there was still a bit of money left in the account. Probably just you know, I'm a man of faith, and I think God has had his hand on this business all along, because I don't think I should have recovered from that, because it was a bad time on a lot of different levels. But that was the beginning. Actually, that was about the middle of all the bad stuff. And when you find yourself in a place to have to start all over again, you don't know where to start. You know, and fortunately, I took it day by day. I took it literally hour by hour. I had to work with the state to get reopened. I had to work with the federal government to get reopened, and I did everything like I should have done by the book with their instructions. Got it reopened, and since then it's been another phase of the journey, I guess you could say. So it's a lot quieter now than it was before. And I mean, as far as the atmosphere is concerned, I'm not looking over my head to see if what's going to fall on my head again. So,
Yeah, for sure. Would you say, coming back from that, did you have any, still have any resources that you use, like books that you fell in love with, or maybe documentaries or anything, like any type of resource that helped you continue to grow that you look at?
that's a great question. That's a great question, because that's what I like. I love documentaries. I love reading people's history, people's stories. And the one thing that I've always taken from all of those things that I like to listen to and like to read is the perseverance of people. Like when they believe in something, uh, they'll go through anything not to quit. Even if it takes restructuring something, or like breaking it down and starting all over again, or whatever. But the passion for what they do is still there, um, and I never lost that. I always believed in the product first, and I believed in me last. But I believed in the process, the product first, and then I said, like I said, I have to take the proper steps to get everything back in alignment. I think no matter what it is, and if you're good at something, I think if you look at the history of people who have accomplished great things, I think it's a perseverance characteristic in their personality than more than anything else. And I don't mean like just being stupid about something. Like, I mean, sometimes it's just a bad idea. But if they have a love for something and a passion for something, I think that's kind of like part of their DNA, you know. And I always feel that unless you were like self-destructive, you'll probably succeed at some point. So I think perseverance is the main thing that I took from anybody who's been successful, and I think that's always been me anyway, sometimes to a fault. But when you can corral all that and put it into one thing like I'm doing now, I think not only is it good therapy, but it could lead it could lead to a product. So I think that's how it all tied together.
And I think another thing to perseverance too is just coming and like seeing like other people's failures and how they came back from that. Like what you just said about having to close for
Yeah,
16 weeks. And you had enough
yeah,
to start back up, but it was all from scratch again, and you did it your own.
just
So like
enough.
that's,
Right,
yeah, that's a great resource right there.
right.
So that is
And I
that's
think
amazing.
people who like to talk about, yeah, people who don't mind talking about their failures, um, you can do nothing but help somebody with that. And honestly, my whole life is an open book. So much can be learned from like what I've done and what I didn't do, whether the right and the wrong stuff, and the failures, and getting knocked down the seat of your pants a dozen times. Um, but for people like to be embarrassed that stuff, or to not want to do it, just not to bring it up, I think you're hurting people who might need to hear something like that. And I've talked to a few people about it, and you just can't throw the towel in, because there's definitely something more for someone than to just give up, So.
Let's ask you this interesting question. Is there any myths, myths, however you say it, myths, misconceptions about
Myths.
what you do? Do people like say things to you like, do you really do this? Or is there any misconceptions about what you do, your business, that you would like to address
Oh,
and be like, those
absolutely. Yeah, I've had a bunch of people. And I don't know how it doesn't even make sense, but a lot of people thought like the the peanut butter came already made, and all I did was package it. You know, so and honestly, it's people like their eyes lit up like when I told them like that we do everything here. Um, you know, the misconception is that that we don't do everything from scratch. That's the fact is that we do, and, and for a 3 or 4 person like staff, we get a lot of stuff done because we all know our jobs and we know how to be as efficient as we can. Someday I hope to be big enough that I'd need 5 more people, but it's the misconception is that we do everything. Like they look at the company, they may look at me and look at the product, and I don't know if they think it just like appears or it comes out of the ground like that. I'm not really sure, but when you tell people, what you do, they're going, "Are you kidding me? You do what?" I want to say, spend a day here and you'll see why. Like only when nobody's around, like I'll start throwing things, and it's like I get I get frustrated sometimes, um, whether it's because the place is getting too small or if I mess up something in my formulation and I got to get rid of stuff. It's there's a lot to do, a lot to be done, and maybe they think I'm crazy and they don't want to. They're trying to tell me, maybe you should be maybe you should be doing something else. Take it easy, but yeah, there are a lot of misconceptions about it, and it's been a one-man band besides my workers, of course, which I couldn't do it without. But as far as the whole development of it, the whole everything of it, it's just really been me, and it's been a very slow learning curve. But I think I have it down now. But my wife has always, my wife has been there, to bounce things off of. She's my official taste tester. Nothing gets put on the market until she approves. And she's got her own thing. She's a director of nursing at a company. So it's not like, we're not working together. But she's good. She's good at reeling me back in, and, putting a better temperament over it than me. I kind of sometimes get away from myself, and because I'm a perfectionist, and I try to ease back on that a little bit. So
what would you say the long-term outlook is for Hanks?
the long-term outlook for us, for the company, uh, boy, I tell you, we the only thing left for us to do is to get it into as many hands as possible. Because you taste it. Honestly, I can't see why you would want to get something else unless you're getting something else like $1 or two. But I can't see how you couldn't say that ours is the best because the time has been spent and is spent all week, making this. The quality of the ingredients, you're not going to find cleaner, healthier ingredients, and I really do feel that it's the best tasting and the best, the most unique consistency, spreadability of it, if you will. That, like you said, you don't get sick of it. You sometimes can overindulge, if that's even a bad thing. I don't know. I don't think so. But you know, I think right now that the product is finally what I call like a finished product after 13 or 14 years, it's finally a finished product. That now it's almost like I'm reselling it all over again and trying to more get into the mass market than pigeonholed into like just supplement companies and supplement stores. So we are with a distribution company called Chex Finer Foods, and they deal with a lot of markets, Roach Brothers markets, King's markets, and right now they're bringing our product in more for almost like piloting, like pilot testing in these stores. And so far the feedback's been good. So we'll see where it goes. That's the market that I really like. I would never say no to a market, but that's the market that I really think, because we're affecting families now instead of just individuals, because we have on our Instagram, there's a couple of photos with, kids can eat our product, moms who are shopping for something healthy. We have the vegan end of it covered, which you would never even know that it's a vegan product because it tastes, we've been able to formulate it to taste just as good as everything else. And, the almond butters, which you're a proponent of. So we try to do something, have everything covered for everybody, but if you can bring it into the home for a family, rather than just, now I feel like we're doing something special,
Absolutely. Are you worldwide? Is it worldwide distribution, or are you
we
just
just broke into we just broke into Canada like this week. It will be at a business called a Body Energy Club. They own 15 stores up in Vancouver, British Columbia, and they also have stores in LA, in Hollywood. We have a couple of stores. We're in a couple of his stores there, and now international. And I'll tell you, it took about 2 weeks of continuous emails, finding out orders and finding out duties and taxes, and again, doing everything myself, because I figured if I can get it done once, then I'll know it forever. So we just found everything yesterday. The order is right here, ready to go. We got to put it on a pallet, and they're going to come and pick it up next week. But yeah, we've been, across three. It's more sparse. We need to fill in the holes, and that's going to come with more volume, obviously. So for a small company, I think we're making our mark. I think we've made a small dent, but now we really want to make our mark and get it into people who can really push it, even further. So we'll see what happens,
I'm going to assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to assume Rhode Island is probably your best-selling state. If I'm wrong, let me know. But
actually,
is there a
actually Massachusetts?
Massachusetts. All right. Is there like a state that is high in sales with Hanks, like Montana, North Dakota? Like, is there a sneaky state that it's like awesome?
Yeah. Actually, we're in a few stores in Wisconsin. Wow. Believe it or not. We have a good amount. We're doing a decent amount of business in Texas. Also, we're in a few stores in Alabama. So, and out west, we're okay, maybe about 25 or 30 stores out west. But now with the international thing, it's going to have exposure. Might take a little bit of time, might take a few months, 4, 5, 6 months maybe, but we'll have more exposure now in Canada, and hopefully that to other things. It's always been a problem with the shipping's always been the issue. I've had a couple of people in the Middle East that wanted to bring us in, but the shipping was just outrageous at the time. So hopefully visit those things again. But I think Canada is a good start since it's close, but it's still considered international, and you still have to deal with all of the customs and the everything that goes on at borders and inspections and things like that. So we get this right, then we'll be good. We'll be good.
Shout out to Canada. Canada's
Yep.
amazing. Canadians are amazing. Shout out to them. I got one final question. It's a fun question, and I got a little game. But if we could roll reverse right now, and you were the podcaster, what's one question that you would have asked yourself that I didn't ask? It's a good one.
Wow, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. I would say, why did you wait so long to do something like this? Okay, because I really didn't. I'm gonna be. Where am I? I'm gonna be 64 in May. Right. So I didn't really start even dabbling in the business until I was about maybe 51 or 52. Um, had I known that I was gonna like doing this as much as, but I was so focused on. See, that's what happens. I get like focused and then like over focused sometimes, because my other business was, my personal training business, and it was a very good business. Prior to that, I owned a gym for about 25 years in Providence, and it was a World Gym in Providence. So, I ended up, leaving there. I had issues with a partner, and I ended up, leaving there. And then they closed down about 2 years after I left, which was, great timing on my end. So, but whatever I did, I wanted to be like really good at. So I just kept on doing and kept on trying to get better at what I was doing. This happened as a result of what I was doing, because I was, training people, and I was doing, nutritional programs for people. And, this spun off of the nutritional programs for the diabetic person. So once this started to go, I really enjoyed it, enjoyed the creativity part of it, and actually making a product that somebody liked. And then after that, I had a passion for that. So I had to try to raise the other stuff out to really get all my energies into this. And it's, that's when good things started happening, when I couldn't split my time anymore because I was going absolutely crazy, So, yeah, I probably, maybe, I don't know. If I thought I liked business as much as I do, probably should have thought of something like this a long time ago, So, but I always wanted to be a baseball player, so I always shoved things off to the side until I knew I wasn't going to do that anymore,
Me was basketball. It was
Is that right? Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that didn't happen.
And that's still my real passion. That's still my real passion, though, is baseball. If anybody ever came to me and said, we can put you on the fast track to becoming like a GM or a GM's assistant to a minor league ball club, I might think of having, I might have second thoughts about maybe the last 20 years of my life. So,
I wanted to
the
be
next 20 years of my life. What's that? What'd you say?
I wanted to be Kevin Garnett. I wanted to be on the Celtics. I wanted to raise the next banner. Oh yeah, I wanted to be like.
Yeah.
Then I realized I'm not 6'11". 5'10". Not going to be anything in the NBA.
Well, it could have been the second coming of
who?
I was gonna say it could have been the second coming of Ernie D, right?
Ernie D. Yep. Or at my height, probably like Isaiah Thomas, little Isaiah Thomas. No, but that's not happening. Yep. But I do agree with you though. Like there's like, I wish I started my DJ business. I mean, it's very new, but I've been DJing for a few years now, weddings and stuff. I wish I had gone official with the business like 2 years ago, like before COVID.
Yeah.
But it's like I looked at it, I'm like, it was meant to happen this way. It was meant to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's I think that's the way you have to look at it to make any sense of it, because when I look back, in a not so distant past, you know, as much as in business as I was with having the gym and the training business and all that stuff, there's a lot of wasted time, doing stupid, things that didn't make much sense, things on a totally selfish level, and not really dedicating myself like to myself and my interests. But I was basically like all over the place, and you know, wasting time is just a bad thing. It just never materializes into anything good. Sometimes until it's way too not too late, but late enough. That I wish I didn't waste as much time doing the things that I was doing. So, but someday maybe it'll make a good book.
Absolutely. Hank, I'm having a blast right now. And, you can check out Hank's Protein Plus. You can check out the website hanksproteinplus.com, Instagram on HanksPBS. We got one final section of today's podcast, and I always end with a little game. And this game is called Name That. We'll find out what we're naming in a minute. Let's play the intro.
It's time to play Name That.
I need to go on Fiverr and work on this intro. I need to set up a better intro. But anyway, today we're gonna play Name That Nut Butter. I had a cross something. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna show a picture of a certain kind of nut butter, and you got to show off your expert skills and tell me what nut butter it is. You know which one it is. And again, most of the guests that I've had on here have probably got 10% of the answers right. So all you got to do is really get 2 answers right, or even one out of 5, and you're on your way. So let's get to it. Let me bring this down. All right, here's the first nut butter. You got to tell me what it is.
Oh my gosh! Am I guessing a company?
No, just like the kind of nut butter. I said no company. Oh yeah, it's tough. It's just tough.
So am I? Oh my gosh! I have no idea.
All right. Well, then you get the.
Am I guessing a flavor?
Yeah, like
Am I guessing
like
the type of? Wait a minute. Am I guessing the type of nut butter it is?
Yes, the type. So it doesn't have to be a brand, just the type, like peanut butter.
Oh, okay. The type. I'm gonna say that's cashew butter.
That is correct. All right. That is a round of applause for you. Wow. All right. I was not expecting you to get that.
I've been spending too much time in this field.
All right. All right. Let's move on. This next one. This is an easy one. I hope.
Oh, that's got to be almond butter.
That is almond butter. You get some applause. You get some applause for that. All right. Almond butter. You are already better than 90% of our show. All right.
I was gonna say the giveaway on that one though was the almonds were on the side.
Yeah. I made that an easy one. That's gonna be the easiest one of the whole thing. All right, next one.
That's the layer. Ooh, that looks close to almond butter too. I'm gonna say sunflower.
That is incorrect. You got the crowd in the background. They don't like that one. That is hazelnut butter.
Hazelnut butter. Okay. All right.
Now, while I'm here, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Do you think you could ever see a protein like a protein version of cashew and hazelnut butter?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The cashew butter. I'm actually. I just started pricing cashews now because they come in different forms. They either come whole or broken pieces, halves. So I'm trying to find the best way to order in bulk, to see if I can get a decent price. But yeah, I think cashew is something I'm definitely going to do. I'll tell you that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, 2 more. That's it. 2 more. That's the next one. Hopefully it's a giveaway. Come on, Hank.
Boy,
What's in the picture?
oh, wait a minute. Is that walnut?
Yeah, walnut butter. All right. All
Is it
right, here
walnut?
we
Are
go.
those
Walnut
walnuts
butter.
up there?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're doing pretty. This is obviously an expert. Yeah, look at this. All right, final one. This is a challenging one.
Wow. That looks like. hmm, It wouldn't be something like it almost looks like a Brazilian nut because it's very light in
So
color.
Brazilian. I love Brazilian nuts. So they're great. But no, it's not Brazilian nuts.
Or is that pecan?
What was it?
I was gonna say pecan.
That is somewhat correct. I give you like a half a point. So it's actually not even a butter. It's butter pecan ice cream.
Oh, I was gonna say,
Sorry,
it looks like ice cream.
I threw a little loop at you. Yeah, butter pecan. So you got one, two, three and a half out of
Half.
five. 3.5 out of 5. You got over
Oh, that's
60%.
bad.
So I got to give you a little round of applause for that one. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Let me tell you. So that has been the latest edition of Name That.
It's time to play Name That.
And again, we've been talking with Hank Capasso, owner of Hank's Protein Plus. And Hank, again, I want to thank you so much for coming on today. I had a blast. Before we go, any final thoughts, anything you'd like to share on your page before we end?
I, who's ever watching this or whoever watches it and is Hank's Protein Plus, whatever product it is, all I can say is thank you. I appreciate every sale that we make. I appreciate every person whose email I have to answer, or if something gets messed up, who's ever who it is that we have to fix it. I just appreciate the fact that we have a fan base, we have a loyal customer base, and I just hopefully it'll continue to grow, and there'll be more opportunities out there to get our product fully across the country and worldwide as well. So just a big thank you for whoever is a fan or potential fan.
Absolutely. I'm a fan. So for sure. And I
All
want to
right.
thank you very much for coming on and making the time to come on. This is definitely one I was super excited about.
Thank you for asking.
Of course. And I can't wait to share this with everyone and influence a lot of people. Especially, you gave a lot of great stuff today. Great advice, great stories. So thank you so much. And again, for the final time, you can check out HanksProteinPlus.com and give him a follow on Instagram and HanksPBS. You can also check out my pages as well, the MJR podcast family, and our new website, MJRentertainment.com. A little plug-in for my DJing. You can check out the prices, weddings, booking now through 2023. You can check those out. We also have the podcast page on there. It's MJRentertainment.com/MJR podcast family. And Hank, again, for the 500th time, thank you so much for coming on today. And we'll talk soon. MJR friends, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon. Word to Big Bird. That's my final saying. Word to Big Bird. Good night.